Welcome to 5 Minutes of Faith, brought to you by Believers Ministry, where we're reaching the community with the love of Christ, one person, one family at a time. Join us as we are taking excerpts from our pastor's recent sermon. It's going to be about 5 minutes.
The title of today's message is Move from the Groping Stage to the Hoping Stage. Our lesson text will be taken from the 13th division of Psalm verses 1 through 6 from the King James Version. Have you ever asked the Lord how long? Have you ever asked the Lord, when are you going to work things out for me? Lord, has it seemed like sometimes that God has forgotten about you? Well, David felt that way, and we can take courage from him as we look at his response to God seeming to take too long. We will see David's threefold response to those long nights of heartache when it seemed that God was taking too long to deliver him. So let's look at David's first response. In verses 1 and 2, David was in the groping stage. In verses 1 and 2, David said, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long will my enemy be exalted over me?" In these two verses, David asked the Lord, "How long?" 4 times. David may have written this psalm during that prolonged period when he was fleeing from the armies of King Saul. It is apparent that David was going through a long trial, and he had been going through this trial for a long time. David was a man after God's own heart, yet he groped for answers and cried out, "How long, Lord? How long?" David, we said, was in the groping stage. But the important thing is, he didn't stay there. And we must not stay in the groping stage either. And that's the problem sometimes. We stay in the groping stage. If that's you today, it's time to move to the next stage, like David. He moved from the groping stage to the coping stage. So the second response to David's problem was the coping stage. Verse 3 and 4 talk about coping through prayer. David said, "Look on me and answer, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death. My enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall." David asked God to keep his enemies from overcoming him because they opposed what God stood for. Right. So David's response to adversity was to cry out to God in prayer for help. David was suffering. He felt abandoned. He felt hopeless. But he turned to God for help. David knew where his help came from. God was using David's problem to draw him closer to him. God had a purpose for David's problem. And it's the same way with us. As born-again believers, there is purpose in every problem we have. God uses our problems to draw us closer to him for character development, to make us more like him. God uses our problems to bring glory to his name. Our response to our problems should be the same as David. We should cry out to God in prayer for help, so God can get the glory out of what we're going through. David's third response to his problem was the hoping stage. The last two verses, verses 5 and 6, David said, "But I have trusted in your mercy. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountiful with me." And the New International Version says, "I will sing to the Lord for he has been good to me." He has been good to me. Can you say he's been good to you? Oh yes, he's better than good. So in the midst of difficult news, serious problems, and drawn out challenges, we make a choice how we respond to adversity. We can either gripe and complain, or we can lift our eyes to the Lord and say, "God, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it, but I will trust in you, and I will praise you with my whole heart, and I will stand on the promises of your word. So our response to our problems should be to keep going forward all the way to the hoping stage. Keep on praying and keep on believing God. Keep on trusting God. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't quit. Ever. God turned David's mourning into joy. And David told God, I will give you thanks forever. David responded to his adversity by giving God thanks. So in the midst of your problem, when you feel discouraged, when you think that all is lost, when you think that you can't go on, offer God the sacrifice of praise that's due his name. And in those times, it is a sacrifice. Because the nature of the flesh is hard sometimes to get past all that to give God praise. Because you're low in spirit, you've allowed yourself to get depressed, you're worried, you're anxious, you're upset, and maybe even angry. In those times, you got to shut that mind down and give God the praise that's due his name. Trust in God today and stand on his promises. God has already solved your problem. Everything we need, God has already provided. Have faith in God. Jesus is not only your Savior, he is also your problem solver. So move from the groping stage to the hoping stage.
We trust that the word has encouraged you, has impacted your life, and we'd like to extend a cordial invitation to come out and join us in service. Our address is 465 Waterbury Court, Suite E, Gahanna, Ohio, 43230.